Hi, Tiffany. How's it going?
Ah,
Yeah, I'm with you there.
yeah, I mean, a little bit, yeah, we were talking before the episode about the current events of week 1.5 into Trump's,
Tenure.
yeah.
Second term. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rough out there.
Harrowing, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
So we were like, yeah, we planned these episodes a long time ago, and it's just kind of amazing that it's such a different world. It feels
Climate. I
like.
mean, even, we planned these probably last summer, even before the election, even after the election. We were like, okay, this is good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're like, is it though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I still think it has to be. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it has to be. I mean, it's so easy to get overwhelmed, and it's also the administration wants us to feel overwhelmed,
Yeah.
and they want us to feel
Helpless.
like helpless and numb, and like they want to like, oh, here's smoke and mirrors over here, get outraged by this thing, so you're not focusing on the other things.
Stuff you can actually do. Yeah.
Yes. So I do think it's important that we don't overindulge in the media.
Oh, I agree. And I mean, one of the problems I have right now is that I'm so like chronically underemployed right now that all I have to do all day is like refresh my news feed, you
That's
know?
horrible.
And I was just thinking like I wish I had children to take to school or something so I had something else to think about, you know, or like
You have a dog to walk,
yeah, she's great. But
but that only takes, not that
yeah,
long.
an hour max.
Just
Yeah.
walk her for 4 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I should probably do that. She'd love it.
Yeah. Um, yes. So let's try to just focus, and maybe because this comes out, what, February 11th? We'll be a little bit further into this chaos. And
Yeah.
yeah. Maybe we'll be a little less in shock. All right. So today we're talking about local action, which I do, even with everything that's changed, it's still some of the most important stuff we can be doing. It's probably like the most important right now because that's what we got, you know? And I
Yeah.
was thinking, like, all of these attacks on different groups of people, like trans people, immigrants, like all of these people, like maybe we're just gonna have to create like bubbles of security and safety. Like the Chicago mayor, was it the DEI stuff? Did you hear about that?
No, tell me.
Oh my gosh, he spoke out against, he was sort of, and I'm butchering this, but he was told to take the DEI stuff out of his, out of his city, whatever, legislation or whatever. And he basically was like, hell no.
Yeah.
And it was very inspiring because he was like, are you crazy? Like, these are the people that live here, and absolutely never going to happen. So it's just like there are so many people who are standing up against it, and we don't know what's going to happen. But like maybe we can create like safety bubbles within our local communities in like the way that we interact with each other, even just being kind to each other, with helping each other out when we see a need, or specifically going out of our way to help people and find those needs. So my original intro for this was that there are more than 500,000 elected offices in the United States.
Wow.
And most of them sit within 90,000, almost 91,000 local governments. So
Wow.
there's like 91,000 of them out there that could, maybe be these little bubbles.
Yeah.
So your local government, like, what does it do? It runs everything that you use on a daily basis: your utilities, your libraries, your fire department, your public swimming pools, your parks, your local law enforcement, your schools, and your sustainability initiatives. Like, if that exists, because it doesn't exist everywhere.
Right.
It does in my county. I'm sure Austin has plenty of them.
Yeah, they're fun. Yeah. Also, your city public health. I mean, that's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
With national public health being kind of torn down in the past week or two, your city and municipal public health institutions have had to step up,
Mm-hmm.
and that's important.
Yes. Yeah, totally. So I thought I'd break down very briefly because I didn't really know. I mean, like vaguely, but my knowledge of local governments is pretty minimal.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody else is there, then you're not alone and no need to be ashamed.
Right.
So it's made up of city council members, mayors, county commissioners, sheriffs, and school boards.
Okay.
I've talked about my school board before. That was the one that I knew about because it was sort of an exciting race.
Mm-hmm.
Most recent time. But yeah, these people are elected. They live among us. They have to kind of prove themselves. They're pretty easy to contact. I wrote in here that I found, because you had said I think it was last episode, you were like, here's my advice, find your city council member. Find your specific council member, because it depends on where exactly in the city or in your county that you live.
Yeah.
That's who's going to represent you. I found mine.
Oh.
Because I didn't know. It was so easy to do. I just Googled who's my council member.
Yeah.
So anybody looking for this, that's all you have to do. And then your county or your city website will have like a list. And then I inputted my address because there was a little field. I'm sure most of them have this. Put your address in, pop up. There it is. There's your council member. So mine is a guy who's also a realtor, which is like, all right, make some money. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
He's also a Republican, which is fine. But it's kind of interesting because on his council website, there's a list of projects going on in my district, which only 2 of them really, because it's mostly farmland, but there's a new neighborhood being built and there are some county road projects going on. So it's just kind of interesting because I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that, like I know exactly where that is. That's like right down the street. His email address was there. His physical address for his office was there.
Wow, yeah.
So it's probably a phone number I'm never going to call, but
Such a millennial. Can I text them?
yeah, exactly. Probably could, to be honest. But
He's
yeah,
on Facebook. I bet he's got.
probably.
You could probably message him on Facebook.
I doubt he's on Instagram, but anyway.
No, that's
but yeah,
okay.
I mean, it's just like these folks are very accessible, which is the cool thing. So I didn't look up actually, like, what exactly does a council member do? Do you know?
They vote for policies that affect. I mean, they bring up. It's similar to legislation in certain senses, but they like vote on, different policies within the city. So like zoning and stuff.
Okay, yeah. So it's your county's legislative branch of the government.
Yeah.
Okay, this makes sense.
They set policies for the city.
Okay. Okay, so that's why you want to go to, because later I'll talk about attending a council meeting, because that directly impacts the laws that are in your county and what gets prioritized.
And they have time for people to speak.
Yes.
So,
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Very cool. Okay, so that's kind of like, what is local government, right? Very basics. And I looked up, and to be honest, I didn't have enough time to find like a really good example, but maybe I will find one throughout the rest of the season and I'll share it then. But I wanted to find like a really good example of a local initiative that actually made a difference.
Yeah.
The one that I found is a little bit skewed because President Obama was involved.
Mm-hmm.
That's not typical. But at the same time, it started with the people. So this is in Alaska, the Bering Sea Elders Group, and two nonprofits that represent over 70 indigenous tribes joined forces. And so it was this like pretty big initiative, but started by like normal people, indigenous people living in a changing climate, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fighting to sustain the ocean ecosystems, basically. And on their website, the Bering Sea Elders Group, I love that name, by the way.
It's really, yeah.
It just sounds like I want to be like in that room.
Yeah.
But they say that they're on the front edge of climate change. Like the fish species have moved, like their migration patterns have changed because of the water temperature. The ice is thinner, which makes hunting that they rely on either more difficult or completely impossible some years. Mm-hmm. So they are dealing with the problems day to day.
Wow, yeah.
So I didn't have time to figure out exactly how Obama got involved. But he did work directly with them to establish the Northern Bering Sea Resilience Area.
Yeah.
The problem is it was an executive order.
Yep, so it can be undone the minute
which
somebody else
was undone by Trump,
Mm-hmm.
redone by Biden, probably already undone by Trump. I didn't even look because it's like, what's the point?
Sure.
But
Mm-hmm.
if it's not yet, it will be. But it was cool because it was sort of like a gateway into, basically, indigenous tribes have been asking for a long, long time to incorporate their knowledge and their expertise into like federal management and into decision making. And this executive order established a process for that, for the tribes to inform and work with federal governments to support local priorities. So it's really cool. It's just like the executive order isn't going to last. It's sort of a... Yeah. But it was kind of a cool example because it's just people living their lives, noticing a problem, and doing something about it. And trying to do something about it. You know, no matter the outcome. As we mentioned, yes, they have hope. And yeah, so we could essentially, it could act as a model to address other like challenges that intersect all these different things like climate change or climate change mixed with indigenous rights and tribal issues and regional issues and all that. So yeah, I have that as an example because I just thought it would be good to hear stories about people.
Right, when it actually did something, when it worked.
Yeah.
When something happened.
I also found one about Hawaii, and they have a really interesting... I didn't look into it enough to really be able to share it, but it was basically like people notice that the sand, like their island is like sinking, but like it's not sinking, but it's disappearing. Like
right,
it's being directly impacted.
Eroded. Yeah, from rising sea levels and
yeah, and so they basically like lobbied the local government. This was, I think, before the fires.
Oh boy.
So I don't think. yeah, again, I didn't look into it enough, but they just had some really interesting examples of local people. They had like a survey where they surveyed tons of local people and tried to actually use people's responses in their legislation. And yeah, I don't know enough about it, but it's just there are a lot of really good examples of local action making a bigger impact than just in your county. Because I think that happens a lot where you do something and then other states look at it and they're like, oh,
That's a great idea.
that's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I looked up, okay, so like examples of what the hell can I do? Because I think most of us, maybe not most of us, a lot of us who are coming to this podcast are like, how do I get started? I think that's like the big thing. And it would be also for me because I'm just like barely dipping my toes in, you know, like just I'm fresh off the non-activism boat. So, so I found basically like 5 things that are flexible. You know, they're like ideas that you can sort of take and run with, but they're not, I don't know, they're not mandates, and it's sort of just to give people ideas on where to start. So first is attend a city council meeting. As we've learned, the reason is because that's where the laws are made in your city or your county. The agendas of those meetings are available online.
Yeah.
So
It's your city website.
yeah, so they're publicly available, so you can look ahead of time and see, okay, what are they talking about? Is this anything that I'm interested in? If it's not, you can request that items are added to the agenda, which is really cool. So if there's, this is a bill, so that's different. But like, say, I'm just thinking for myself. Say you notice that there is I don't know.
I can give you an example.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so from the
I have like a million things running through my head, so.
from the Pedestrian Advisory Council, right?
Yeah.
We would make resolutions and recommendations to city council based on our things. So, for instance, I think the biggest issue everybody in the city had was when scooters, the little like
Yes.
bird and lift scooters
We
were.
had that
Yeah.
episode that was so fascinating.
So at our meeting, people would come and give their input on how much they hated them and, you know, all these things. But, you know, we would draft resolutions like, because such and such. So for instance, I can't think of one off that. Well, because scooters provide mobility services in places where, you know, public infrastructure is lacking, you know, we would write the because, and then therefore be it resolved. And we would say, we would encourage city council to adopt practices that encourage scooter accessibility, you know, things like that, or bike lanes, or, you know, so, and then those resolutions.
Oh, so you were pro scooter.
We were, which is interesting
That's
because
so
everybody who showed up at the
interesting.
meeting was so anti-scooter.
Yeah, that's
But
hilarious.
we're like, but it's better than cars. Like,
Yeah.
we don't want the cars. But it would, you know, but with that kind of input, you could draft a resolution that would say the city should enact law enforcement or parking enforcement to handle the issues, you know, that, or create laws that, you know, you can't park a scooter in the middle of the sidewalk and then enforce that. You know, that would be one of our resolutions. Like, we think these are good. You need to make it better for everyone involved, that like people on wheelchairs aren't tripping, you know, like they're not tripping hazards, they're not pollution hazards, they're not, you know. So with input from the community, we could, you know, draft those resolutions in a way that it's like, do this, 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 and this. And those
Okay.
recommendations go to city council, and then they can draft a bill about it, right? So a lot of times when they're discussing issues, when you go to city council meeting, you raise your hand, and it's the same thing as it would have been at the pedestrian advisory council, where you have citizens come in and say, "Hey, I don't think we should have short-term rentals in our neighborhoods. Like, it's making it too hard for us to buy affordable housing for people. You know, the bachelorette parties are ruining everything. You know, they're not good citizens in the neighborhood. It's ruining the culture of our neighborhoods, things like that. And then city council could be like, yes, let's add that into our language here and address it. You know,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. Yeah. No, that is really interesting because yeah, like you said, every city council meeting has a verbal, you can verbally share your thoughts
yeah,
if you want. And I think a lot of people would be too intimidated to do this, potentially including myself. But there's like always this citizen participation segment,
yeah.
which
And
is really cool.
one of the things that's kind of funny is like you have the recurring crazies, you know, who are very
Yes.
who are so important though because they show up every meeting and they say
I was going to say, and they're probably usually older, right?
because they have more time on their hands. Yes. But
Yes.
yeah. So, you know, they kind of get an outsized portion of the time spent, but it's because
Uh-huh.
they show up, you know.
Right.
If we all showed up for one thing that we cared about once a year, you'd be participating more than 99% of people who participate in, you know, than of the citizens. So like there's an opportunity. And a lot of these meetings are still, they have online capabilities. You can attend
Yeah.
them from your Zoom, you know, and type up your thoughts and have somebody read it for you. So
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, depends on your city council, of course, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Mine definitely has virtual. I feel like that's less. That's interesting though that somebody else could read my thoughts.
Woo-doo, woo-doo. Gonna read your thoughts. But yeah, I mean, you could actually send it. You could email your city council person and ask them to read it on your behalf too. I mean,
Okay.
they might not because they might be
Yeah.
busy, but that's a possibility.
That's so interesting. Yeah,
think
that might.
It makes more of an impact for you to show up and do it.
Yeah, I think so too. Have you ever spoken? Or
No.
you just participated? But you participated in the resolution writing.
Several, lots of them. I mean,
Yeah.
that was what we did at the Pedestrian Advisory Council. And that's another thing is that you have, you might mention, I don't know what your list is, but joining an advisory committee.
Yes.
That, yeah. Okay.
That's next, and I want to hear about your experience.
Yeah.
Because we
I
haven't
mean,
talked about it actually. So.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, if we want to move on to that, I mean, that's my experience with city government. I mean, other than working for us in public health.
Yeah.
But
Well, I was the only last thing on that one was yeah, so to find your it's so Google makes things so
Google's
easy.
just
So if
the
you're like
easiest.
how do I find my local government's meetings, my city council meetings? Literally just Google city or county council meetings
Mhm.
in my area. Yeah, near me.
Yeah, they're public. They're totally public.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. And another, it was what's that website called? She Should Run. Have you heard of it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool. That was one of I forgot to say my sources. That was one of
Oh,
my
that's
sources.
okay. We didn't do the intro music either, but it's okay.
Oh my God. Whatever. It's fine. I'll add it in later.
Yeah, it's fine.
So funny.
Just do it in post.
Yeah. We are anyway. So She Should Run said bring a friend to the city council meeting. I was like, oh, that's genius.
Excellent advice. Yep.
Yeah, because surely you have a friend. I have like a couple friends who would be like, okay, fine, I'll come. They might not be like thrilled. One of them would be super excited, but I thought that was like a really nice way to, and then get coffee after, like do something
Yeah.
nice, and then
Have dinner. Yeah.
feel good about
Participating, even if you just go and listen, just to see what it looks like.
yeah. Because I think actually a big thing. One thing I'm realizing is like the barrier to entry. It's not even a barrier to entry, but it kind of is. It's like a mental barrier to entry is all of the unknowns. I don't know if you get like that, where it's like, if you just go once, then you
For
feel more comfortable. And
for
you
me,
kind of
it's
like,
parking. Yeah.
yeah, parking, the driving route, the entrance, like where do you sit? Like
Yeah.
all of those things stress me out.
Me too. And I get totally overwhelmed. I'm just not going. Yeah.
Yes. And it's the same with like a new gym class, which sounds so silly, but I'm
No,
like,
I have the same
oh,
thing. If
yeah,
I don't
like,
know, like, are there going to be mats there? What do the lockers look
yes.
like? What's the,
Like,
yeah, I
what
freak
equipment
out.
do I need?
Hmm.
Like, I'm not going to know the moves, whatever. Yes.
I just won't go.
So, exactly. And I think probably you're right that the first time, just like ease the pressure off. Like, don't make
Go
yourself
to a boring
talk.
meeting where they're talking about something stupid you don't care about. Just to get the lay of the land. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And then, like,
Low stakes.
exactly. And then you'll feel a lot more comfortable and still bring a friend. You
Oh,
know?
100%. Definitely bring a friend. A friend who is an extrovert and is not afraid of those things.
Oh my God. Love those.
Who's just like, yeah, we'll figure it out. And you're like, okay, you can drive. Make them drive.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. I'm
They
glad
can
I'm
figure
not
out the
alone
parking.
there.
Oh,
Okay.
no. It's a kind of agoraphobia, I think. But I
I
think
think it is. Yeah.
I think it's because we're both introverts, right?
Yeah, or social anxiety or something. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
it's probably an ADHD thing because
Probably,
we're all
'cause everything
undiagnosed
is.
ADHD at this point. But yeah, the planning, the minutia, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, and then if I've done it a couple times, I feel so much better.
100%. Old pro.
Yeah. Yes, totally. So the other one is join a board or a commission or an advisory council.
Do
I
you
didn't
want
have
to
that, but
you want to take a break real quick and then we can deep
Yes.
dive into my experience? Cool.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
I have to get the music here.
I'm sorry, I should have prepped you beforehand.
No, it's
but
all good. Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
And
yes.
we're back.
So yes, this is a one step more active probably than going to a council meeting is becoming involved in a board, commission, or advisory council, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more active. Again, still a low commitment. It's once a month usually.
Yes.
So the Pedestrian Advisory Council, for instance, was tasked with advising City Council on anything related to pedestrianism. And
How did you hear about this and how did you get involved?
Okay, my friend Jen, who was my roommate, I knew her from Albuquerque. She moved here. Then I moved here. She was the communications manager for the department, the Austin Transportation Department.
Okay.
And she was like, hey, join this commission. Join this
Okay.
committee or this council. And I was like, okay. So I applied and they elected me. And then,
Oh, you have to get elected?
yes, but yes. And
Do
that's
they
that's another
reject
thing.
anybody or
They're yes. And I think they
are they
kind
popular?
of put me in partially because I was a writer and they needed some
Oh,
help
okay.
with the resolutions, but partially also because I was the only person who applied from my district.
Oh, okay.
But most of the people on there had very kind of vocational interest in transportation. Some of them worked for contractors or, pedestrian advocacy groups. So you have like a broad array of people. There were some people who were there because their kids got hit by cars. And
Whoa.
they wanted, pedestrian safety. It was really vital for them. So it was all kinds of backgrounds, all kinds of people. Again, it depends on the council or the committee, but the level of commitment was, once a month meeting. They elected me to be the president or the chair one year, and I was like, oh boy.
Did I know you when you were the chair? Because I remember you having a lot of work to do for them.
Was it a lot? Really, it felt like so little to me. Yes,
Or maybe you just had a meeting while we were in person or something.
yeah, I had a meeting while we were working for the company we worked for together. I had to leave to go to a meeting.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah. Again, it was all virtual meetings, once a month, and I'd approve the agenda, approve the notes, lead the meeting. It was like a 1-year term, Yeah. So you do get elected by the previous council, basically, elects the new council. And it might be different for different, but they're usually just so hungry for people to apply.
Yes, that's the thing. That's what I was wondering. Do people actually get rejected?
There were some, yeah.
Which is so interesting. Okay. Is that like a popular thing there? Maybe because it's Austin?
Yeah, it
Because
was
there are a
just because
lot
we
of
have a large
people?
city. Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of the people were just like extremely talented and qualified for it. And,
Okay.
and some of us just had really good opinions, or I'm not saying I had really good opinions, but I
Yeah.
had skills as a
The right
writer.
opinions. Uh-huh.
Yeah, right. But groups that, you form a group and then you discuss things and you write resolutions and you have mostly like most of our meetings it would be a presentation from, let's say, the State Department of Transportation presenting their plans for the I-35 expansion. And then we'd
Okay.
grill them about like, okay, why do you think this bike lane would work? There's 4 lanes of traffic crossing here and you want to hit the side like and sometimes we'd be like, okay, tell us more about these plans and it would be all kinds of different proposals from different entities. And then we would draft a resolution based on, what the presentation and our discussion and, send it to city council and they could do with it what they wanted. But
Okay, so they actually had to present to you.
different entities, yeah. We'd have
That's so
presentations from different
interesting.
groups. So for instance, if they were going to build a new thing downtown, and they wanted to talk to us about the implications for pedestrianism for, the parking garage or something.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we got passed when I was in there was we sent to city council a recommendation that they delay the green lights to allow for walk signals to go 5 seconds before,
Oh, okay.
and we got that passed.
Oh,
So
that
in
is smart.
the city of Austin, when you're downtown, the walk signals give you like a 5-10 second head start before the light turns green. So there's
Nice.
no traffic moving while you're walking through the
Right.
crosswalk. Ideally.
That's really smart because sometimes people are turning and they're like not looking.
Yeah. And it gives a breath. And that's only
Yeah.
downtown.
Okay.
But other things, like there's a big issue with in downtown 6th Street, which is the bar area, closing it to car traffic during busy weekends. And we're very pro that. Like pedestrians, the pedestrian council, most of us were very much like anti-car. A lot of
Yeah.
people were like radically anti-car.
Yeah.
But there were people that were radically pro-car too, but mostly it was we don't want cars where people are walking, period.
Yeah.
And so, we recommended a pilot study for Rainy Street district to get that blocked off on weekends because it's a big pedestrian area and the cars, it's like a really small road and it's like just have cars drop people here and here and you've got, a quarter mile of no cars where there's a bunch of drunk kids walking around. It makes perfect sense.
That's awesome.
So things like that. Or broadening sidewalks in certain areas or, bike lane. We worked the Bicycle Advisory Council and the Pedestrian Advisory Council, the backpack,
Oh
worked
my God.
together. So we're the backpack.
I love that.
And while I was there, we actually started some of the leaders who were just really amazing people to work with. I was a deadbeat compared to them, but they were trying to get more policies passed for Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities because they're drastically underserved. Like there are not sidewalks in historically
Yeah.
Black neighborhoods in Austin.
Right. Which is awful.
So to kind of create a committee that would focus on that, and so my ex-husband used to call it the BIPOC backpack.
I love that.
Is it time for BIPOC backpack? And I was like, yes, it is.
Well,
great.
also, yeah, to not have. It's like I don't have sidewalks around here, but that's so different than in a city.
Yeah.
That's
It's
insane.
a real problem in Austin. And one of the things that's kind of interesting is that it's tied to development. So if you build a new structure, they said the builder has to build sidewalks.
Mm-hmm.
which means only rich people and
Right.
newly developed areas get sidewalks.
That is insane.
Yeah. But they did last year or the year before, they installed sidewalks in the street just adjacent to mine,
Okay.
um, with cutouts for wheelchairs and, which
Okay.
I was like, thank God, there's one street in my neighborhood that has some sidewalks. And
Yeah, and that's
they
such
are,
a breath of fresh air.
yeah, I mean, my street is still like walking the dog. It's like, yeah, they're coming at you with their cars, but we're not a major street, but we're just off basically three major streets. So
Oh, okay. So people go pretty fast.
people do cut through our neighborhood. Yeah.
Okay.
But, things like that. So if you, find a committee or a council that speaks to your interests.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a really good way to get involved, for sure.
and I was going to say, it's funny that you had to apply because the forestry board that I just joined
Yeah.
is the opposite.
Yeah, they're like,
So-
please, 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 please. I mean, I was a member of the trauma Chamber of Commerce.
That's so interesting.
I
How
lived
did
there
that
for
happen?
6 months because I was working for the railroad,
Okay.
which was one of the major, the major industry in the area. So it's like, we are the Chamber of Commerce. And I've just volunteered to be the secretary. So I was the secretary
Okay.
for the Chamber of Commerce in the city of Shama, for the
pretty
village of
cool.
Shama. Yeah. I mean, that is it. Like, especially in small towns, they need warm bodies. And if you are more than a warm body, thank God. Like,
It's so true.
boy, would they love to have you.
Especially
And-
younger people.
Oh, yeah, because it is mostly retirees. There's nothing
Mm-hmm.
wrong with retirees, but they don't necessarily represent everybody's interests.
Yeah.
As they would love to have more people involved. Absolutely.
Yes. And they're like pretty desperate. Like there's a Green Fest coming up in my area, and they were saying last year it was one older guy, like, I don't know how old he is, but he's older, to the point that I was impressed that he was out there doing
Yeah.
this, but in the cold, well, maybe it wasn't that cold, but outside in this festival handing out free trees.
Yeah.
Just him
Yeah.
by himself. And I was like,
Wow.
dang. And so I'm going to try to volunteer to help him this year. But
Oh, good. Yeah.
I'm
Great.
just like, yeah, they need people.
They do.
They really need people.
Yeah. I mean, and it is something to be said for, like, unpaid labor, if you can offer it. That comes from a privileged position.
Yes.
That's another issue with some of these councils and things, is that it's like people who need to work 3 jobs to
Right.
afford their rent are not going to be joining your, but they need people from all walks of life to
I
participate
know.
and offer their opinions. And so if you can be just a slightly different or, tap into the people who can't be there in some way, check in with your friends who have concerns that don't have the time or the basically bandwidth to do it,
Yeah.
bring their concerns up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, totally. Okay, cool. So that is a good way. I think that's a really easy gateway into local
100%.
government.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can also, I didn't look anything up about this, but you can also volunteer for a local political campaign, which if the woman who did end up winning our school board had lost, I would totally have helped her
Mm-hmm.
win again. Like, I
Yeah.
would have totally volunteered for her political campaign. That just requires you knowing who the local politicians are.
I have done phone banking for the mayor of Albuquerque back when I lived there.
Okay.
Real easy, just an hour.
There you go.
2 hours on a Tuesday night, 6 weeks before the election. Like,
Nice. Yeah, and I feel like you could probably also volunteer to, do people hand out those, like, stakey things?
yard signs.
Yes.
I think you have to request them, but I think some people might make deliveries or something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just,
yeah.
just again, warm bodies. They don't need you
Right.
to be like, they give you a script.
Right.
And you get dinner. Like,
Nice.
it's seriously, if you believe in a political cause, volunteer for the campaign. For
Yes.
sure.
Yes. Another one that I added was, well, actually, this was from Should She Run, but is go to local events.
Yeah.
And that's so vague, and I realize that, but like whatever interests you. So, for example, there was recently a seed exchange at our local library. And it was so, I didn't get very many seeds, but that was okay. It was just so cool because there were tons of people there. And there were probably 15 booths crammed into this little room. And each of the booths was either a volunteer group that you could link up with on like one was an interfaith gardening thing where they planted native plants at local churches and synagogues and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and you didn't have to be religious. It's just like, and the woman was like, kids can come if they want to just run around. Like,
Yeah, they're outside.
yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, that sounds so cool. Yeah, they were giving away seeds. They were educating on composting. It was just like, it really warmed my heart because I was like, wow, there are a lot of people in my area that really give a shit about this stuff.
Yeah.
And that just made me feel so good.
Yeah.
So I think going to events, whether or not you meet anybody, like I talked to, a random person, I don't really know. I'm not going to remember their name, whatever, but it just makes you, like, maybe you'll see them again randomly, and then you'll feel like, oh, this is part of my community,
Yeah. I had I took a screenshot of this earlier today. I want to say it because it's something that I think a friend of mine who is like a kind of life coach and parent coach for like neurodivergent children, which is interesting.
Oh, wow.
I have to look at my thing. Okay, so she posted today, when we live in a state of overwhelm, to self-isolate feels protective. This creates a positive yet negative feedback loop where we keep ourselves distanced from community that could help us shoulder and share the overwhelm.
Wow.
And that was Celestina. Thank you, Celestina. I was just like, that's so exactly that. Just go to the event.
Yes.
We're social creatures and we forget that so much. Just go to the Earth Day event,
Yes.
You don't even have to volunteer for it. You don't even have to like help. Just go and be around your community. And
yes.
I mean, she's talking more about like we need to talk to each other about these things, and not but it is so easy to just get overwhelmed and self-isolate and be like there's nothing good happening. Just go to the seed exchange,
Yeah. I think that is really relevant though because it's also like what did she say? Something about share the burden or share the overwhelm or
share the overwhelm. Help us shoulder and share the overwhelm.
Yeah, because it's the same thing is true. Like we were talking at the beginning of the episode of the overwhelm of climate change. So yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. That's like so perfect. Yeah, and I know it's hard to make time. It's hard to prioritize. For example, I almost didn't go to this, but I'm proud of myself because I was talking with my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law because Joe was going to be gone all day and I was like, I need something to do with Charlie. And I was like, there is this, they were saying, oh, we could go to this playground thing. I was like, oh, that would be fun. There is a seed exchange event. I could stop by before or after. We don't have to go, whatever. We ended up all going and it was like all the kids went and they all got their little like seeds and they all had a lot of fun. So, and it was at the library. So like you can't beat that.
Yeah, library's great.
Yeah, Charlie picked out this cutest bird book. It was like not really for little kids, but it was in the kids section, and it's some pocket guides or something. I can't remember the name, but Pocket Genius.
Oh,
and
cute.
it's just got birds of North America, and it's so great. She was in the back seat reading, like she was saying, reading, quote unquote.
Yes, of course, looking. Yeah,
she was saying things like, "That's a lot of goose."
That is a lot of goose.
It just made me so happy.
That's hilarious. If only you gotten it on video and you could have become internet famous.
I know.
That's up there with that Vine that was a little girl looking at like a bunch of pigeons.
Oh, wait.
And she goes, "Look at all those chickens." They're like the pigeons.
So good.
Yeah. I think that every time I see a bird. Look at all of these chickens.
So good. Kids are great.
Oh my God, yes. That's
So,
so
yeah.
much goose.
Yeah, it's a lot of goose. So, yeah, it was just like, so it kind of made my day, and in so many other ways too. Not,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in addition to just just going to the library is really fun. So, and I found out that there's a bigger seed exchange because I only got a couple. It wasn't really a seed exchange event. There's a bigger one coming up later this month. So I'm like, okay, sweet. So I got the list of
Sweet.
the
Yeah.
dates. So it's like
Perfect.
these things build on each other.
Yeah. And you got something to do with your kid on a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. And it was free.
Yeah.
You can't. And I got Joe Pieweed. Have you heard about Joe Pieweed?
I have.
You probably heard it from the guy that we follow on Instagram.
Yes. The native habitat.
Yes.
That guy.
I don't know why I can never remember.
Never.
his
I can't.
handle.
I just because I look at their thing and not their name. That's why.
Yes, I know. He talks about Joe Pieweed all the time, so I was like, he would be so proud of me right now. So I'm going to plant those in a couple weeks, but
Yeah. Awesome.
yeah, I'm excited. The other one is volunteer, and I feel like doing like what we talked about already, like joining a board or a commission or whatever, that is volunteering.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of other ways to volunteer.
Yes.
So again, this is a privilege, but it also doesn't have to be like, you don't have to be spending 5 hours a day volunteering. Nobody's going to do that, right? It's maybe like an hour a month.
Mm-hmm.
So I just found randomly like the League of Conservation Voters. They're really interesting. You can work with them and volunteer with them where you can do, I think on the one side you can do like canvassing, phone bank, hosting events, engaging with the community, in like schools or college campuses. So that's just like one random example. But I was also thinking so many nonprofits, and I'm assuming climate ones are in the same boat. Smaller nonprofits are in desperate need of admin work.
Yes.
Or marketing work.
And that's exactly what I was going to recommend.
Exactly.
I used to do a lot of marketing, just busy work, kind of like filling out the Google ads for the
crap
the food
nobody
bank.
has time for.
Yeah,
Yep.
and they're like, we can't afford another intern, And it's like, okay, I'll do this 2 hours on a Saturday, twice a week, whatever. When I was unemployed, especially, yeah.
Exactly. And I was thinking like, it's exactly what we were talking about before. Like, not everybody is a canvasser. Yeah. Not everybody is a shouter.
You don't necessarily want to talk to everyone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And some people are just a data inputter.
Yes, exactly. You can do, oh my God, data entry is huge.
Yeah. Like, that stuff is so valuable.
Folding letters and putting them in envelopes.
Yes, I've done that.
Yes. Countless times. Yes.
Yeah. I
The
did that
paper
for
cuts.
Amnesty International. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done it for the food bank. I've done it for, you have to use a sponge. Use the sponge and not your tongue. You use a sponge.
Yes. Otherwise,
But yeah, I love the, that's like, you know how you get the thing going down where you fold it in third, like perfectly fold it in thirds.
Oh, and it's beautiful. I know.
I love stuff in envelopes.
Yeah, same. Yeah, like that kind of thing, it's so valuable, and you don't really have to talk to that many people. So you don't have to be social. You don't have to be an extrovert.
Yep.
But it's so helpful. And I remember early on when I was looking for like stuff to put on my resume, that was what was available. They were like, you can do data entry. You can organize our folders. And I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah. Organize our marketing cabinet,
Yes.
Our giveaways need to be counted.
Yes.
Do inventory. Okay. Yeah.
Yep. Rename all of our photos because they're a mess.
They're JPG. Yeah. Could you write alt text for some stuff? It's like, yes, I can.
Yes.
I can write alt text. Yes.
Yeah, or writing newsletters. That I've done that before. Just being the person who just does the word input. You know, you don't even have to be a good writer. Just input.
Click
words.
here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Link to URLs. That's
send on MailChimp. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Yeah, I think all of those organizations and many more that you mentioned about giving money to, you can also give your time to, and also more local organizations too. So like
Yeah.
Google local environmental nonprofit, see what comes up, ask them what kind of volunteer stuff they have. They also probably have it listed on their website,
Yeah.
or they might, maybe not.
If they have time, you
If
might be
they
the
have
one
a
listing it on the
volunteer,
website for them.
exactly.
Could you update our website? Yeah, I was just noticing Greenpeace tonight. Their website's not updated, and I was like, oh.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Or at least
Yeah.
the thing I was looking at. I'm sure it's many myriad blog posts that they just haven't had time to update. But yeah.
Right. Yeah, there was I was looking up because I wanted to talk about We're Still In, I think is what it's called. I think it was run by Bloomberg, who Bloomberg is like, is he going to be our savior? Like, what's happening?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's crazy. This is a crazy world we live in. But yeah, he's like pledged to fund the Paris Agreement. Anyway,
Wow.
did you hear about that?
No.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen, but he's like, I'll pay for it.
Wow. For the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay, that's. I have issues with that on so
Isn't
many
it
levels.
crazy?
But it.
I know. Well, yeah, we can't just be like billionaires against billionaires. Like,
Yeah.
this is not how.
Just let the oligarchy pay for whatever they want, because then if it's like, yeah, maybe Elon Musk should fund food stamps,
Yes.
right? What? And we have to rely on. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry.
No, exactly. It's weird. It's very weird, but it's also like, I guess, go for it. Like, I'm not going to say no.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I've got
But
alarm bells going off.
I know. I felt the same way. But anyway, I think Bloomberg started this like initiative. We're Still In after the first Trump administration, and it was the one where tons and tons of cities around the country signed, like, we're still going to pursue the Paris Agreement.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it hadn't been really updated recently, so I was kind of like, I feel like it was one of those things that was like gung ho when Trump was in office, and then when Biden got in, they all stopped. But it's
Yeah.
like probably because the Paris Agreement was back.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I thought that would be an interesting. Keep an eye on it if
Yeah.
you're interested, because it's like it's needed again, and it's just kind of cool. And I think that's if the cities are actually taking it seriously and following through with their commitments, then that could be
Yeah.
a really easy way to get involved if you wanted to see what your city was doing. So
That's awesome.
yeah, but that's all I had.
It's a lot.
Somehow it's so funny. It was like,
We're still talking for an hour.
yeah, I know. It's like so
Anytime we're
few-
like, oh, my research was kind of light, it's like, well, hang on, we got anecdotes.
exactly, which is
We
good.
got anecdotes. Yeah, which is good.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are so that's the start of it. You know, there's so many other options too. So
Yeah.
start
That's
a book
awesome.
club. Like, you could do so many
Yeah.
things.
I mean, education is big too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying, bring a friend. You know, just have a
Yeah.
conversation once in a while with one of your friends about stuff you care about.
Yeah.
I mean, like that's what this podcast is for us. Is we're like, native plants. What do you think? And then we talk about them.
totally. Yeah.
And
Yeah. And there was another thing that came to my attention was you can also advocate for, like, if your kids are in school, you can advocate for like science, environmental science education, basically.
Mhm.
And for me, that was huge for me, actually, because it was my favorite class maybe ever, was my high school AP environmental science class, because my teacher was so good. And he got me actually interested in it and understanding sort of how the natural world works, like in certain systems. And I feel like I still have a pretty good grasp on like nitrogen fixation or whatever.
Wow. Yeah.
Like really random things, but I feel like very important education. And it sort of lit a fire in me that I wouldn't have currently if I didn't know any of that stuff. So it's really important, even in stupid high school.
Especially in stupid high school. If you can make anything cool in stupid high school,
If you can make anybody care about anything in high school, that's a win.
huge.
That's a big win. So
That's cool.
yeah, there's tons of stuff out there. Again, we can't despair. It's gonna be a wild ride, and we're both quite nervous, but we're in it together, and we have to remember that, what was it I saw the other day? 67% of people didn't vote for him
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't vote.
They didn't vote. Most of them just
Or they
didn't
voted
vote.
for the Democrats. But
Yeah.
more people didn't vote than voted for, than voted.
Either candidate. Yeah.
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 I think. Maybe that's not true. It was like a third, but a third didn't vote for him and a third voted for her.
Right.
So, anyway. Only a third of the country really wants him in. So I'm hoping people come to their senses. We'll see. Sigh.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
all we can do is what we can do in
Right.
our own.
I like the idea of creating a local bubble. So by participating in your local government where you can, you can help make that possible. Oh, yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So next week.
Next week, I'm talking about lobbying the state, which is
lobbying.
a little different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Originally, we were going to talk about lobbying the local government. I'm like, and then you were like, "That's too much lobbying."
Yeah. I think I think one episode about lobbying is probably funny. And we kind of touched on it in voting, but I get into a little bit more depth
Okay.
in
Sweet.
next week's episode. So, and talking about some state level climate policies that
Okay.
like can't just be undone by executive action necessarily. So there's that. Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
Okay. That is nice. I'm
Yes.
glad to hear it.
Yes.
Oh, what's your good thing or thing you're proud of? What do we call it?
Yeah. One good thing. I
can start with mine, but
yeah, go for it.
ahead. If you need time to think.
Mine is I finished my spreadsheet on all the expenses I had that I can give to my accountant for tax purposes, and now I just have to gather all of the official forms from everyone. So like,
I love it.
yeah,
That's so good.
yeah,
I need to do that.
yeah. Well, and so for me,
Such a
it's
pain.
because I have a tenant, my roommate,
Uh-huh.
so I get income from him.
Oh, yeah.
So I have to track that. But then, because I have a tenant, any improvements I make on the house are also tax deductible.
Oh.
So they kind of cancel each other out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting.
So we'll see how that changes.
We need a tenant in our
Yeah, get a tenant. I don't know. It's complicated.
And that is very complicated.
I don't know if I mean, it's not, for me, it's pretty straightforward, but.
Yeah. But, I mean, on top of business taxes. Oh, boy.
Yeah. Well, and then it's like things like dining out while I'm traveling or.
Right. Yes.
I just got to get all my 1099 forms together, which is, and my W-2 since I was an employee last.
Right. That's the worst when there's like 100 of them.
Yeah, I've got like
Cobbling together
10
your
or something.
employment. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I need to ping some of my clients about that are like small businesses who don't even know they have to do it. I'm like, hey, you. Last year, one of them never gave it to me, and I just reported the income I had from them, and I'm like, I hope they didn't get.
Oh, that's
audited.
yeah. I don't know what. Oh wow. Okay. Who
I keep
knows?
everything above board. I am very legal
Right.
because I don't want to get audited. So
No, I know.
I report everything.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So mine was going to the seed exchange. So
That's really
why.
good. Yeah, I love
That's
that.
why I was gonna be able to throw it out there right away.
I think you've inspired me. A friend of mine texted me, a group of us this morning, and nobody responded. And in 2 weeks, if she ever listens to this episode, she'll be like, aha! But she said, do you guys want to come Saturday and volunteer with Tree Folks, which is the group I hype all the time that gives away free
Yes.
trees. They're doing a tree planting like less than a mile from my house on Saturday morning. And I just haven't responded because I'm in that self-isolating zone. And I'm just like, I don't want to talk to anyone. And I'm like, just freaking go. It's going to be beautiful Saturday. Plant
Do
some
it.
trees.
Yes.
2 hours.
Oh yeah, totally. And then give yourself a treat afterwards.
Yeah. Get some ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Totally.
a cocktail.
Or a cocktail. It might be time for a cocktail for that.
Yeah.
After that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cool.
Awesome.
I love it. All right.
Well, you've made me feel better talking about this tonight. so-
Good. I'm so glad. I feel better too.
And I kind of forgot that I used to be so involved.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I've done that. I've done
You
that.
totally, yeah. You've done a lot. Like, way more than me.
I'm also, kind of a single lady with no children. So,
Well,
again, privilege. I have more time.
excuse. That's no excuse,
It's not an
Tiffany.
excuse. You're going to take your toddler to the city council meeting? I double dog dare you.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
That's
She's
a
like,
lot
look
of
at all
goose."
these goose.
Look at all the goose.
That's our tagline. It's so much goose. Thanks, Charlie. We owe you one.
Right. Oh, this is so good. Okay. All right, perfect. So, where can we find us?
Instagram, Greening Up My Act. Patreon, Greening Up My Act. YouTube, Greening Up My Act. And Facebook, Greening Up My Act. Also, greeningupmyact@gmail.com if you want to send us an email.
Uh-huh.
We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, totally.
Just like City Council. We need warm bodies too.
We need warm emails.
Warm emails. All right, I'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.